So as we explore different successes with Care for the Sick and our lessons and what we've learned over time, we wanted to highlight some of the struggles we also had with the PeaceWorks around working with the church in our member church-initiated programs all the way through the clinical church. And we came up with the struggles, these 3 S's, one being size, the steps, and the sustainability. And I want to pursue and just examine each one of those briefly because we learned some things we should and shouldn't do.
Right.
So let's start with this disconnect that started happening due to the rapid expansion, the size of the program. Tell me about that. In fact, I even said the word that we discovered, program. Talk to us about that one a little bit.
Well, what we observed is that as the pool of church volunteers who were trained became bigger and more work needed to be done, and the tendency was to start taking the work to other districts because new passions were there. People willing to do these things, people willing to do this, and calls from other districts, hey, come and help us as well, start being seen. But we ignored that the all has to be expanded or replicated by the local church, starting with the starting point. And we start seeing that the church was losing control, and some of the activities were started without having the church ready to start them, and that was just leading to the failure of whatever was being done. So it was very important that we come back and see: is the church ready to take the program or the work that has started in this one sector to the next sector? And is the church ready to start doing savings, to start doing vocational school or
clean water, whatever.
Clean water. So we noticed that most of those work that were starting being developed just came a bit earlier, before the church has settled down with the first initiatives that were started, like the Care for the Sick, and feels ready to take more work and expand work to other levels. And that tends to appear as just a kind of disorder and loss of control of the local church. And we had to come back and make sure the church understands or has the control of what has been initiated before starting new works.
Yeah, I think we really discovered we had to become more vigilant as we all grew in our PeaceWorks to come back to being church-centric. The pastor's aware, the members are aware. So much was happening that other classes, other things were going on, which makes sense, but all these members were becoming almost their own program. It was the Peace program, and I think you brought this up. We don't want to have a Peace program that the churches are running. We actually want it to be a church-initiated peace work, and we're bringing the curriculum, we're bringing peace to them. So that was just a lesson. It was a struggle as we noticed as we grew, we needed to be really coming back to the church and making sure this readiness, this ability to take on more and understand where all the members were going. It had a lot to do with communication, I think, was kind of key. So that was one piece, victim of our own success.
Absolutely, yeah.
Second part was particularly interesting for us. There may be, for whoever's watching, there's going to be certain professionals in a variety of fields. Ours is medicine. And they want to participate at the local church or maybe even from a church locally here or from another country. We tended to short circuit a little bit. And tell us a little bit about this misstep that we took when we did this.
Right. It's very important to understand that whatever is being done here has to be church-owned, church-initiated. And what we're doing is just support the church to do the church. So, and what we've learned is that some of the church members, and I'm talking about nurses and doctors who were coming from particularly Saddleback Church or Biola University, and who were coming at some point because their passion and their call and their skills were to be used, not this time at the grassroots level, in terms of training church volunteers on caring for the sick or the curriculum, but they were there to help train or build the capacity at the secondary level this time, which is the hospital level or the district hospital level. And here we can remind all of those levels.
Do the
of
three levels,
intervention.
because we've mentioned it a few times. What are the three levels and how does this all work?
So the three levels include the grassroots level.
Primary.
And that is the local church in the community there. And then we have health centers around local churches at that primary level. And then you have a secondary level here where you have district hospitals. And district hospital would have a number of clinics, health centers around them that are satellite to them. And then you have the tertiary level, which is kind of a national level with teaching hospitals. And the goal, the vision is to empower or equip or partner with the local church to intervene at those different levels. And we've been talking about the clinical church, which is at the grass level, most of the activities, but still there are other interventions the local church can do at all of those other levels once it is equipped to do so.
So what was our misstep?
Right.
How did that happen?
And what went wrong is that some of the church volunteers from outside, from the U.S. mainly, would come straight to the secondary level.
Boop, yeah.
And without any control of the local church. And so it's a group of healthcare professional nurses and doctors with the passion to serve.
Absolutely.
Working in the hospital with nurses and doctors, doing workshops and taking care of patients together with local nurses. But then, who are they? Who are they here to support?
What's the connection? Right.
What's the connection? And we learned that, so they were perceived as just, all the volunteers from the U.S. coming to help, but the presence of the church wasn't felt. And we had to reorganize things and make sure whoever comes to support the church, take care of the sick, and has to go through the local church, and the local church would use them to support the local clinic, regardless of the level. And that works, the presence of the church, and the church felt equipped, because it's just the church doing the church, but this time getting resources from elsewhere, from abroad.
Or even internally, depending, we talk about developing countries a lot,
Right.
but you may have developed countries too,
Right.
where the membership will participate directly.
Right.
I think our lesson here was that, and everyone meant the best, but always have it grow from the primary level.
Right.
Always introduce at the primary level and grow from there into the secondary level.
Right.
We were, again, kind of victims of our own success. People wanted to participate locally and from abroad.
Right.
Organize that.
Right.
Have that make sense where the church is always the invitee, inviter.
Right.
Make it church-centric.
Absolutely.
So, good.
So this, if I may add this.
Please.
So it's kind of resources given to the local church after the needs have been identified. And then the local church says, I'm going to use these human resources at the grassroots level. train church volunteers at that level on basic, healthcare and the clinical church at that level. And I have these other resources. These gonna be used at this other level of healthcare delivery. So these nurses, these doctors can conduct capacity building for local nurses and local doctors, and share knowledge and experience. Take them and say, hey, here are
The
resources.
church has resources, right?
Here are the resources we have. They may not be permanent, but whenever we have them, use them. We're helping you use them in this way. The same thing for the tertiary level. And we kind of learned that it was very important to bring them to the local church and have the local church introduce them and use them appropriately.
Never neglect the primary level, that first level.
Absolutely, yeah.
And in fact, you teased a little bit about this third topic of resources changing, and one of the more sensitive topics that comes up often in all missions work and in healthcare in particular is the question of donations and money, and we are always very careful to introduce any kind of monetary amount, and there was even some confusion that can happen. I think that you mentioned there's a right time for those on occasion, but in a bigger context is there's a sustainability question. Our third S would be sustainability.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that, about some of the confusion that can happen if you interject money at the wrong time.
Right. So, well, money is money, and it's important to make sure all the ground has been set up to before it can be donated. But it's needed. But it's important to make sure that the local church has understood that it's going to be a tool to do the work, and a tool that can be used in a sustainable way. And there are instances where money was brought in before the ground has been well settled up to make sure money is going to be used efficiently and in a sustainable way. So, and some mistakes were done, but then quickly we realized that something needed to be done before money can get introduced. And whenever it got introduced, after all of those prior preparations were done, it worked well.
Yeah, I think that they always have a sustainable model that can be grown. So I think we bring it up because we've tried very hard to make this church-centric, local resources. It's not about the bank account.
Right.
It's about the love and the passion that people have.
Right.
But we do recognize that donation and people want to help. Be always very careful with any kind of donation. We don't want to cause confusion or hurt feelings.
Right.
So be aware of that. Have a sustainable model that's being used. We don't want people to be using money as a solution, just a tool.
Right.
So good. So those are a couple of the struggles we had. Just the realities. Again, they were based on our successes. I think everyone had the best interest in all of these, but you need to have this ongoing vigilance to review what you're doing and have a process in place to mitigate and correct anything that you see. So, yeah, I think that's really just wanted to bring that and highlight a few of those things. Be careful with those. And we appreciate the time. Thank you very much, Dr. Polepole.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.